And a good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Skybox. Thomas Baia and Nathan Salmon joining you for our last edition, and a very, very special edition here, as Coach Mark Schmidt, the head coach of our St. Bonaventure men's basketball team, is joining us live in studio. Coach, thank you so much. How are we doing today?
I appreciate you having me on.
Of course. Coach, first thing for us, I want to go on a little time travel with you back in the day. Take us back to the moment, way back in the day, when you decided that you were going to leave Robert Morris and you were going to come to St. Bonaventure, New York. And I actually did a little research on this. I'm looking back at some of the records. You came here in 07. 04-05, we were 2-26. 05-06, 8-19, and 06-07, 7-22. That's a combined 17-67 the 3 years before you got here. Take us back to the conversation with your wife, your deciding. What was the motivation coming back here, or coming here for the first time?
We had a lot of success at Robert Morris, and we had a really good team coming back, the Player of the Year coming back, but I just thought that when I was an assistant at Xavier, I came up here, 6 or 7 times, and even though they weren't very good at times, they did beat us one year. Matter of fact, my last year, but there was always a crowd. There was always passion in the stands, and even though they weren't very good, there was still a following. And then when they beat us in, I believe it was 2000, Caswell Cyrus and those guys, we had David West, and they beat us at the buzzer. And I remember going back to the airport on the bus, and Coach Prosser was the head coach at Xavier, and I just told him, I was like, man, I've never been in a louder place. My ears were still ringing an hour later, and then when this job opened up, Coach Prosser was my mentor, and I called Coach, and what do you think? And he told me, he's like, remember, when we were on that bus, and he also said that they had won before, it wasn't a graveyard, and why can't you bring it back? And that's and Steve Watson was a big part of that. Sister Margaret was a big part of it. I think they needed. I think athletics or basketball needed some support, and the support comes from the top, and they wanted to win, and they wanted to do it the right way, and so that was a huge part of it. And then it was a family decision. I brought my wife came up one time, and then I brought my sons up, and my wife, so they could see the place. And what I didn't want to do was take the job and then come up here, and then my 3 sons go, Dad, what the heck are we doing only in New York? So they came up, and we, they shot on the basketball court and so forth, and ultimately we decided it wasn't an easy decision, because it's, if I was single, it was much easier. If I screwed up, I can go get another job. But when you're dealing with a wife and 3 kids, it's a family decision. It's a big decision, and I did as much homework as I could, and I accepted the job, and thank goodness I did.
If I would have told you in 2007 you'd be here for 15 years, would you have believed me?
No, and that's the thing. Like in this business, you just never know, and you never know if you make the right decision until you're 2 or 3 years into it. And most coaches, either stay here 3, 4, 5 years, or they get fired. And to be here 15 years is special. I would never have thought it was like that. It would have been like that, but at the same time, I'm blessed that it is.
Now, Coach, after a couple of years to kind of gain your footing here at St. Bonaventure, you made your first NCAA appearance in 2012, led by future NBA player Andrew Nicholson, and then again in 2018. So what were those experiences like for you, and then how did those teams have any similarities to this team this year?
Yeah, I had been to 4 NCAA tournaments as an assistant coach at Xavier. And, so I had a feeling, and as a player at Boston College, so I understood what it's all about. But you tell the kids, this is what we're playing for, and it's, to see your name called on Selection Sunday, there's nothing like it. And to see those kids have that happen, it's just in the look in their eyes and the smile on their faces. The 2012, when we first got here in 2007, we said that we were going to try to bring it back. And, Jonathan Hall was the first guy that really helped us, and, Andrew. But for us to win it in 2012, it put things in perspective. Sometimes as a coach, you spend so much time working and working and working, and sometimes you feel like, is it worth it? But when you have experiences like that, that's, it makes it, that much more important and that much more special. And then 2018 was another great thing, just because we got snubbed in 2016, and we should have gone and we didn't. For those guys to be able to fight and stay with it, and 2 years later, go to the NCAA tournament and beat UCLA. It just showed the toughness of those kids, and showed that they handled adversity and came back better.
Are there any similarities between that team and this team?
No, good players.
Right.
That's really we have really good players, and with Andrew and his gang and Jalen Adams and Matt Mobley and that team and with Kyle and Shun and Dom and Jalen and Jaron, it's all about good players. You never seen a good team with bad players. You need good players and you need good chemistry. And I think those 2012, we had a really good player in Andrew, but we had really good role players. And the same thing in 2018. Guys accepted their roles. And this team, I think, last year they did the same thing. They accepted their roles, and hopefully, as we continue in this season, it will happen again. But you have to have good players, but you have to have good role guys. Then you have to have some luck, some breaks. Stay away from injuries. But those three teams, you always had a go-to guy, and they were different because the go-to guy was a big guy in 2012, and the go-to guys in 2018 were guards. And now it's guards again, so it's there's similarities, but there's a lot of differences too.
Now you just mentioned the starting five there. Obviously, Dom Welch, Kyle Lofton, and Shun are all 4-year seniors. Take us back to, was it difficult at all to get these guys to come to the smallest D1 program in Olean, New York, like you mentioned? Maybe specifically Kyle and Shun being from Jersey. I know they didn't want to play together.
Yeah, when we started this, you have to do it a little bit differently here. When we won it in 2012, I think we had 6 or 7 foreign kids. So you do it differently, and you turn over more rocks. Some other schools may be able to, for 5 scholarships, maybe to recruit 20 guys. Well, we got to recruit 100 guys. So it's a little bit different, and you got to find the right types of guys. It's guys that basketball is really, really important. The social life is not a huge thing. They want to go to a small school. They want to get away from the city. There's a lot of different variables to it. But we want to find guys that want to be pros. In order for us to win the Atlantic 10, we need pros. It's like, coaches can only do so much. You put guys in positions, but if they can't make a layup or an open three, it's, that play is useless. So we need guys that want to be in the gym, guys that are a little bit under the radar. We're never going to get a top 100 player. We're never going to get a guy that, if Dayton wants him, or St. Louis wants him, or VCU wants him, we're probably not going to get him. So we have to find guys that, have a high ceiling, that aren't there yet, that are going to get there. So, Dom and Kyle were, they weren't highly recruited guys. Just like, Andrew Nicholson and Jalen Adams and Matt Mobley, none of those guys were highly recruited guys, but guys that fit what we wanted to do. And the same thing with the guys that we have, with Shun. He was his junior year, he was getting offered by Division III schools. And then LaSalle, it's not like LaSalle was, Villanova. And then he had a good prep year, and, ultimately, he's probably the highest rated guy in terms of what other schools went after him or offered him, Georgetown, Syracuse, and, whomever else. But I think the relationship we had with Kyle, that really helped us in that situation. But recruiting is always going to be a little bit more difficult here. You have to find the right type of guy, and we've been lucky for the most part.
And you mentioned Kyle, out of high school, St. Bonaventure's his only D1 offer, and he comes right in, and he's voted a captain by his teammates in his freshman year, unheard of in college basketball. What did you see from him? Like, what qualities as a leader, both on and off the court, did you see from him coming right here?
His team always won. It's like when he was at Putnam, he was he led by, he was outspoken sometimes and get on guys, but he's led by example. just talking to those guys when we recruited him, he's always in the gym. He's the hardest worker. And then when he came up here, it's like I don't pick the captains. The players pick the captains. And for those players to pick a freshman just says all you need to know about him. He has whatever you need to lead. He's got a great IQ for the game. He has a passion for the game. He's a good friend, but he can get on guys when he needs to get on guys, and he's a competitor. He's a winner, and that's you don't make leaders. Those guys, they're born. They got whatever it is to be a leader, and he has it all.
Now, after your first season with Dom, Kyle, and Shun, what were the areas you felt that your team was lacking that you thought that Jaron and Jalen could provide for you, where you were able to bring them in?
Yeah, well, we didn't have experience. We had Courtney Stockard as our leader, but those three young guys, we knew. We started off slow. We had injuries. Courtney was out when we went to the Cayman Islands. Ladarius was out when we went to the Cayman Islands. So we knew that those guys were going to be good players. They just need experience. So when we're trying to, that year we lost, I think we had a shot at the buzzer, to go to the NCAA tournament, and those guys are freshmen. So we knew they were going to be good players, and you just try to fill. You look at your roster, and you just like, this is what we need. We need a 2-guard. We need some toughness. We need an athletic 4-man. And so you try to fill in, and my assistants do a great job of finding guys. And Jaron was toughness, and he fit what we wanted. He wasn't a highly recruited guy. He had Division II offers out of high school, went to JUCO, not because of grades, but because of his inability to get Division I scholarships. And I just saw a guy that he's a winner. He was tough. He was unselfish. He just fit what we wanted to do. He loved to play. And then Jalen was a type of guy that, he played the 3 at Miami, but like we thought that, he could be a 4-man, an undersized 4-man. He was so athletic, so long. And I think in our league, those types of players are really hard to guard. It's like, you play 4 guards. In essence, he's a guard. But he can guard a power forward, maybe because of his length and his athleticism.
Was it tougher to bring him here since he would have to sit out a year?
No, I don't think. You'd have to ask him. I don't know that. But he was looking to play at a higher level than the MAC. And he fit what we wanted. When you transfer, it's like, before the portal, you have to sit out. So no matter where he went, he was going to have to sit out. But he took that year and he got better. He's got stronger, his skills got better, and I think he's more of a natural, face-up 4-man than a 3-man. And I think the position that he's playing has really helped him.
Last season was really the first time that these 5 could really get together and play on the court, and of course with COVID, you guys overcame a lot of adversity, game cancellations, a couple players leaving the program. How were they able to mesh and really gel right away and start winning a lot of games?
I think they're good players. They have high IQs. They're character guys. They're unselfish guys. They understand in order for us to win, they all have to play together. They accepted their roles. There wasn't any animosity, no jealousy in terms of I'm not getting enough shots. I think they knew that they needed each other to be successful. It's not one guy who's going to carry this team. We needed 5 guys. And then when we had those, a couple guys leave at mid-year, I think that brought our team together. It showed that the guys that wanted to be here, and they had each other. If we're going to win, they needed to have each other's back, and that's what happened.
After a great season last year, unbelievable, making it to the NCAA tournament and everything, and then coming in ranked this year, ranked to 23rd, what was the message that you were giving your team going into the season to make them stay humble, still working hard? What was the message?
The rankings don't mean anything. It's all based on what you did last year, and last year was last year. It's the polls are for the the alums, and for recruiting and all that stuff. It doesn't mean anything. When we were, and I told the guys, when we first started this thing, we were picked, 14th, 13th, 12th in the Atlantic 10, and no one cared. Everybody thought they were crazy in our locker room. So if we knew they were crazy then, why would we think they're smart now? You know what I'm saying? So it's like whatever we did last year was last year, and teams are going to come after us harder now, and not just because we have our guys back isn't going to mean that we're going to be better or as good as last year. It's a whole new season. You start 0-0. So that's how we approached it. We're honored to be ranked, and that's all super. It's like I said, it's great for the alums and great for the school, but it doesn't really mean anything. It's like you got to go out and play the games, and we want to be ranked at the end of the year rather than at the beginning of the year. And but we know that teams are we when we played guys, we had a chip on our shoulder, and we were trying to knock off those top teams. Right now, we're one of those top teams. So our guys have to realize, teams are going to come after us. We're the team that they want to beat in the Atlantic 10 or just in the non-conference schedule, and we've got to be ready for that. And so that was really the message.
Through a little over a month of play, you guys are 8-2 with wins over Clemson and Marquette. How would you evaluate these first 10 games of the season?
I think, it's been up and down. We've played well at times. We haven't played well at times. We got off to some slow starts. But, if someone told me after 10 games, the schedule that we were playing, that we'd be 8-2, I'd take it. And we've had some good wins. And really we've only had, one, quote, disappointing loss. But it took, a guy that scored 35 points against us to beat us. And, that kid's an NBA player. So, and Northern Iowa was going to be a good team. They just, finally got healthy and so forth. And, to be 8-2 and then, have Kyle not, play for 3 games and go 2-1, that's a positive as well. But we got to continue to get better. We're nowhere near where we need to be in all areas of the game, offense, defense. So we're a work in progress. The young guys, I think with Kyle being hurt, it gave those, Quadri and Linton a little bit more time. So hopefully that will help. But being 8-2 right now is good. But winning 8 games is not enough. The only thing we're guaranteed is 8 wins, and that's not nearly enough. So we got to continue to work, and that's what we're doing.
Coach, last year, I remember watching all the games on TV, even though you guys are playing here less than 50 yards away from where I was watching it, which was obviously brutal. But I think almost every single TV broadcast, they would always show some stat about, how limited the bench use was last year. It was really all the starting 5. This year, you've gotten some quality minutes from Linton Brown, Quadri Adams, Coulibaly, just to name a couple.
Yeah.
How has that benefited you as a coach to have bench pieces that you can trust?
Yeah, it helps. It helps the guys, give them a little bit of rest. And it gives me more options. And like I said, I think with Kyle's injury, it's forced them to play and to get in there. And I think at times they've played well. So I think it's given them, hopefully some confidence as we go forward. But if we can get 8 guys playing and those 3 guys coming off the bench, can give us a lift. And they don't have to be we talk about production all the time. It's not always going in and scoring 30 points. It's if you can go in and get 6 or 8 points, get a couple rebounds, be able to play defense. That's what we're looking for. Those guys coming off the bench don't have to be the stars, but they got to play their roles. And the more they can play, and the more effective they are, the more minutes and the more rest that the older guys will get. But believe me, those older guys are going to play. It's like they may not play 40 minutes, but they're going to play, and that's how the season's going to go.
Some will play all 40.
Yeah, it's just how it is. And then once you get in the Atlantic 10, as the season goes along, that the bench gets a little bit narrower. But I think right now those 3 guys, they need to continue to get better, learn the system. But I hopefully, in the games that they've played so far, that's helped them, with their confidence.
Someone that seems to improve a lot this season has been Jaron Holmes, just more consistent scoring. What have you seen out of him, and how has he evolved as a player really since? Yeah,
when we recruited him, as I said earlier, he was just a gym rat, loves to play. He just wants to win. Him and Kyle went down and worked with Tyler Ralph this summer. He's just always in the gym, always wanting to get better. And what he's done for us, especially with Kyle being out, playing the point guard position and, the assists that he's had, the rebounds. He's playing extremely well, and he's playing out of position. And now hopefully we can get Kyle back, and then we can slide him back to his natural position. But he's a winner. I think the guys like him. They respect him. They understand what he's all about. And from a coach's perspective, you want 13 Jaron Holmes. Because they just they do it academically, they do it socially, and they bring it every day in practice.
Talking with Coach Schmidt here on WSBU 88.3 The Buzz. Coach, first halves, some people could say have been an issue so far this year. During the UConn game, I remember they showed a stat where you guys are point differential minus 21 in the first half, plus 92 in the second half, which is pretty incredible when you think about it. Why do you think it's taking you guys so long to get rolling?
I don't know. Some games we haven't. The UConn game were fine. The Buffalo game were fine. It's just I don't know. It's just our shots don't go. There's probably a ton of reasons. We got to get off to a better start, and hopefully we will against Virginia Tech on Friday. But I really don't know. All I know is we're 8-2, and hopefully we can be 9-2 on Friday night.
Could it be game planning maybe? Do you have to change game plans? Like, maybe the first game plan doesn't work, or maybe it could be mentality?
No, it's not game plan. Like, the game plan doesn't change. We're running the same stuff. Right. And, it's them coming out of the gate faster, being more energized.
Hopefully as the season goes on, they'll start to pick it up.
Yeah, we have a veteran team, and sometimes when you're playing, lesser opponents per se, you may take it for granted a little bit, but we're not. We're just an average team when we don't play hard, when we don't have the energy. We're a really good team when we bring it, and I think the one thing that guys have learned is that in order to be successful at this level, with the talent that we have, we got to play hard all the time, and if we don't, then we're going to have halves like that. So it's. I think those guys they understand that. We got a mature team. So hopefully that continue. That will get better as we go forward.
And as you mentioned, Jaron's ran the point in the place of Kyle over these last 3 games. Down the road, once Kyle's back, how do you see this team being better, just learning to play without Kyle on the floor?
Yeah, I think it would be better just because of the bench guys. They played more. We put them in, under fire against some, really good competition in tight situations. So that can only benefit. It helps Jaron, because, Kyle needs a rest. Now we can slide Jaron to the 1. And Jaron played 1 last year, but not as much as he's done the last 3 games because of Kyle's injury. But that will help him too. And sometimes we may be able to play Jaron at the 1, take Kyle off the ball and have him coming off, screens, from an offensive standpoint. So, hopefully that helps us.
Coach, I watch all your press conferences after the game, and I don't think you've gone a press conference without saying the word defensively. We got to be more active. I think that's something you just say at every press conference. And there's been games where the defense hasn't been great. Northern Iowa giving up 90, Coppin State giving up 81. The first half against Loyola maybe wasn't as strong as you'd like. Mm-hmm. You always say we need to be more active on defense. What does that look like for you in your eyes, to your standard?
Just keeping the ball in front of us, being more active with our hands, tracing the ball more, sprinting to the level of the ball. Our pack line defense is predicated on one ball pressure, but being able to limit the guy from blow-bys, getting into the gaps, trying to own the paint, not letting the ball get to the paint, limited them to 1 shot. And I thought, you look at our numbers, and our numbers aren't bad, defensively. They're not bad. We're, out-rebounding teams, with holding teams like 41% field goal percentage. So we're not bad. It's just sometimes we get into ruts and we get stale offensively, and that us getting stale and having a hard time scoring affects our defense a little bit. So we got to get better in that in every area, but defensively, try to keep teams out of the full court, out of getting numbers out of break and forcing a 5-on-5. We talk about always back and set, and forcing a 5-on-5 game and being active. Being active on the weak side, rotating quicker, getting to the ball faster. all those things. We're not there yet, but that's something we have to get better at.
Do you think it's a mentality or maybe more technique for some of those flaws that you've seen? What are you working
No, it's a mentality. It's for the younger guys, a lot of it's technique and the system, because there's a system offensively, but there's a system defensively as well, and sometimes they get confused how we're going to play a ball screen, how we're going to play. There's a lot of different things to it. It's not as easy as people sitting up in the stands saying, "Hey, why aren't they stopping people?" There's a lot that goes into it, both offensively and defensively. So, for the veteran guys, it's not technique. For the younger guys, at times it is.
And you mentioned Virginia Tech, one of the top teams in the ACC. You guys are playing them Friday down in Charlotte. How do you attack playing them, and how do you work to slow down such a great scorer in Keve Aluma?
He's really good. He's a 5-man that can play both inside and outside. He's got high skill. We got to do a good job of getting back in transition. They shoot the ball really, really well. Every one of those guards shoots over 40%. But against a post player like him, he's just not a back to the basket guy where if you get the ball you can double team him. He's facing up. He's very similar to the big kid from Clemson. He can shoot threes. He can play back to the basket. So he's going to be, he's going to be hard to deal with. And then they surround him with shooters. So if you go double team him in the post, he has a skill set where he can pass the ball. So it's going to be a challenge. He's first team all ACC for a reason. And they're a good defensive team. They play similar to us. They run sets. They play half court. Pack line. And they got some good players. So it should be a great test for us.
Coach, quick story for you, and stay with me. I promise there's a point to this. So I went down to New Orleans for Thanksgiving, and me and my dad are walking down the street. My dad had a Bonaventure shirt on, and some random guy from New Orleans just says, "Hey, go Bonnies!" And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, go Bonnies!" And he told me he's an alum. We got into like a 10-minute discussion about the Bonnies team this year. This alumni in this school, they live and die with this team. When did you first realize that, how crazy the alumni was? I know you said it,
Yeah, like
Xavier.
In the press conference, as I said about, coming up here and seeing the crowds, and they weren't, at times weren't very good, but they still had support. But I remember going into Buffalo to some speaking engagement. It was an alumni thing, and I remember, opening up for questions, and there's an older lady said, "Coach, the winters up here are really cold, but the last 4 years the winters have been really cold, and so that caught me by surprise. Like well, all right, and then I remember going to Central Arkansas, and I didn't even know really where Central Arkansas was, and I walk out to the game, and there was like 100 Bonaventure people here, and I think that was my first or second year, and I'm like, man, where did they come from? And they came from Dallas, but everywhere we go. There is supporters, and you made that example or the story. It happens all the time wherever I go. You always see a Bonaventure person, always, and there's a great passion for it. This is a really good school, but it's known for basketball. And everybody you talk to, alumni, they never talk about they talk about the school, but they always talk about the Saturday nights in the Riley Center. And that's what brings the school together. And I knew basketball was important. I just never knew it was this important until I got into the position and talked to people and saw what was going on. And then you go down. I don't know if you guys went to Charleston, but you go down to Charleston, you see those people down there, and it's an amazing thing that we have the support that we get, and the alumni are so serious and passionate about basketball and about the university. And I've said it before, it's like there's bigger alumni bases, there's bigger schools, but there's no more passionate alumni base than Bonaventure. It's just a special place.
And your associate coach, Steve Kerr, he's been with you since 2010. What's he meant to you during your time here, and what does he bring to the locker room? He's
done a great job for us. He's been with me, 10 years and probably 13, 14 years, 3 years, I think, at Robert Morris. A great recruiter, a great evaluator, somebody that I can rely on to, ask questions. He knows exactly what I want. I've been lucky to have assistant coaches that have stuck with me, and Steve's been the longest, but Jeff Massey, Dave Moore, those guys were with me for 8, 9, 10 years, and it just makes it easier when you're trying to explain something, or Steve goes out and sees a play, he knows exactly what I want, so it's the relationship is really good, and he does a really, really good job.
Coach, Fan Jam was my first experience at the Riley Center. Being a sophomore last year, obviously never got to experience it, and I remember the players. They went so nuts, when they were introducing all the other players, player introductions.
Uh-huh.
And I think when they called your name, I think the players went the most insane. How would you describe your relationship with the players? It looked like from the outside like they just have a mutual respect and a love for you. How would you describe?
Yeah, I don't know if it's a love.
Maybe not all the time.
But it's almost like you have to. Skip Prasso once told me, it's like when I get my head coaching job, like the biggest decision you have to make is your staff, right? And then the second thing is you got to bring in players that fit what you're trying to do. All right, and the other thing he told me was the X's and O's are like 10, 15, 20% of the game. Right, getting the kids to play hard for you is so much. It's like 80%. Right, and the way you get the kids to play hard is they have to know that you love them, that you care about them, not just because of basketball, because they're basketball players and they can put a ball in the hoop, because they're human beings. And so every year I have 3 sons of my own, but I have 13 stepkids every year. And that's just how it is. And you spend more time sometimes with your stepkids than you do with your real kids, your biological kids. But yeah, there's got to be respect. I'm like the father figure, and I told every one of those guys and their mom and dad that, I'm going to push them. When they do something good, I'm going to let them know. When they do something bad, I'm going to let them know. I'm going to teach them and coach them just like I would want someone to coach my sons. And that's how we've done it. And some players probably like me more than other players. That's just, the guys that are playing more. But those kids have to know that you care about them, and you have their best interest in mind. And that's what we try to do. You never lie to them. You tell them straight out. And some of the stuff you tell them they may not like. I always tell them, like, if you want to hear what you want to hear, go talk to your girlfriend or, your mom and dad. If you want to hear the truth, come talk to me. And so you try to be straight with them, and I just think that the relationships are, there's got to be you're the boss, but at the same time, you got to understand, where they're coming from as well, and it can't be like the old days. It's like, my way or the highway. There's got to be some, it's changed a little bit in the last.
Can't be Herb Brooks, right?
No, it can't be Bobby Knight.
Right.
It can't. There's got to you got to be flexible. It can't be just this is how it's done. You got to get some input from them, and that's what we try to do. But ultimately, I got to make the call, But the relationships are important, and all I want them to do is when their career is over, to come in through the door and say, "Thanks, Coach. You didn't cheat me. You told me the truth." And we try to maximize their abilities, and that's what we try to do, and that's what we'll continue to do.
Now, Coach, we've heard that you play a lot of golf in the off-season at Bartlett Country Club, and we're both golfers ourselves. I've got to ask, well, what's your handicap, and how do you play hole number 2?
At Bartlett, that one's brutal.
Hole number 2 is difficult, yes. I'm a left-hander. I love to play. And some days I play really well, and some days I play really bad. I'm one of those types of golfers. Sometimes the ball goes straight, and you don't know why it goes straight. And then some days the ball goes crooked, and you don't know why it goes crooked. But it's a great game. It's a humbling game. But it's a game where there's no better game when you're out there with people that you like and you enjoy. There's nothing better.
So what's the handicap?
Something. It's usually goes from like 9 to like 11.
Okay.
So I'm just like when I play well, I can break 80. When I play bad, it's like high 80s.
I take that.
Yeah,
take that all day.
Yeah, that's the game. That's the game.
And if we play number 2, if we walk away with like a 7 on that hole, we're doing
yeah.
back handspring.
Like
So
my wife always told me, like, our kids play, but they really don't want to play, and she said it was because they played number 2. We shouldn't have gone like out back. We shouldn't
Yeah.
have started 1 and then 2. Like 2 is like after 2 they're ready to quit.
Call that a par 6.
Yeah, exactly.
Seriously.
Exactly.
So, Coach, last 2 for you. So, I was a couple weeks ago. I went into the Riley Center Cafe around 5:15, 5:30. I see the starting 5 and a couple other guys sitting there. And by the way, not only are they great basketball players, they're great. They're great kids. Even just, I had no business going up to them, and I went up and talked to them.
Uh-huh.
And I said, I'm going to be interviewing Schmidt in a couple weeks, hopefully. And I asked him. I said, can you describe Schmidt in one word?
Uh-huh.
And I passed the phone around. They each gave it to me. Now, the last 2, I will say, are from one of your players. I'm not going to tell you. I'll give you one guess as to who they are, but you got to promise me, don't run them out of the gym
No.
because of what they say.
No.
It's all in good fun.
No.
All right, so we got perfectionist,
Mm-hmm.
best, bald, great, smart, goat, competitive, old, and ugly. Those are the last 2. That's all we gave you. So I'll give you one
Well, it's
guess.
true. Old. It's true. It's true.
Who would you want to guess? Who do you think said the last 2? Old and ugly.
Dom probably.
Wasn't Dom.
It wasn't Dom.
It wasn't Dom. I'll tell you off the air. I'll tell you off the air it was. Just don't.
No, but it's true. Old, ugly. Sometimes.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Last one. Now, because we are a radio show at heart, we are going to let you pick. Baseball players have their walk-up songs. We're going to let you pick kind of your exit song. So, do you have a favorite band or maybe a favorite song by that band?
No, not really. Not
Gotta
really.
give me some song.
Um,
Whatever you want.
I'm not a really. I like Jimmy Buffett.
Okay.
Cheeseburgers in Paradise.
Cheeseburger Paradise?
Yeah.
All right, that's a good one.
Yeah.
That'll be
Yeah.
your
I like
song.
that. I like
All
that.
right. No, all I want for Christmas is you getting in the holiday spirit. We'll go with Jimmy Buffett.
Jimmy Buffett.
All right, sounds good.
Jimmy Buffett.
Well, Coach, seriously, from everyone at the Buzz, from Nate and myself, from the bottom of our hearts, thank you so much. Seriously,
Yeah, we
for
really
coming on.
appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome. This was fun.
This was
was
great,
fun.
and we had
Appreciate
to
it so much.
had to give you some curveballs at the
Yeah,
end.
no, I appreciate it. I
Again,
appreciate
don't
it.
run.
Merry Christmas to everybody.
Seriously, and from everyone
Yeah,
at
you
the
too.
Buzz, have a great holiday break from Nathan Solomon, Thomas Baia, and Coach Schmidt. Have a Merry Christmas, a safe and fun break. So long, everybody.